So n minus 2 f1 to 14, n minus 1 0 to 1. Okay, so D 0 to 1. That is the general electronic configuration. Okay, lengthenum. Okay, this one. This one is lengthenum. Sorry. This is why it is not working. I don't know. Okay, so this is lengthenum. I don't know. So this is lengthenum. So lengthenum do not belong, lengthenum and actinium do not belong to F block. Lengthenum and actinium. Okay, this one is actinium just after the lengthenum. Yes, actinium. Okay, actinium do not belong to F block by configuration, but by physical and chemical property. Physical and chemical property. They are similar to F block elements. Similar to F block elements. They are similar to F block elements. Okay. So this one, lengthenum and actinium, this you have to remember. Sometimes they ask, so do not clearly show that one. Okay. So F block basically it starts from cerium. Okay, I am not giving you electronic configuration of this. Just remember this one. So cerium. So one is your lanthanide series. Okay. First one is the lanthanide series, and second one is the actinide series. So lanthanide series. Lanthanide series, you see, start from cerium and ends to lutetium. 14. Okay, start from cerium and it ends to lutetium. Okay, so there are 14 elements because F has 7 orbitals. F has 7 orbitals, so there are 14. So from 58 to 71 it ends. From atomic number 58 to atomic number 17. So lanthanide series starts. So that is your F block element. So lanthanide series for F block, it is your 4F15 in the configuration. Configuration is 4F 1 to 40, 5D. Okay, 0 to 1. Okay, either it is 0, either it is 1, and it is 6F. So what I wrote here is the general electronic configuration NS2. So N here it is 6 or sometimes it is 7. Okay. So 6, 5, 4. So N minus 1, N minus 2. So N minus 1, suppose it is 6, N is 6. So it becomes 5 and then it becomes 4. Like that. So that is your lanthanide. In the lanthanide series, it is the 4F orbital. Okay. It was asked in NEET. No, sorry, not in this PMT, MPPMT. Okay. So that was the NF N minus 2F14. So in lanthanide series, the 4F orbitals are there. Okay. Then actinide series. Okay. Actinide series. So actinide series starts from, you can see here, thorium and ends up to uranium. but there are also artificial elements. Okay, so thorium to uranium, then it ends up to lawrencium. So I will write lawrencium, but as I told you, uranium is the last natural element. So it starts from thorium, okay, up to lawrencium. Okay, lawrencium is L, I forgot that, Lr. So it is Lr. I should write lawrencium. Lawrencium. Okay. So and uranium is the last. Yes. Nothing. Last line is thorium to lawrencium. Thorium to lawrencium. Yes. Thorium to lawrencium. That's it. Okay, this side. Yes. So thorium to lawrencium. Okay, this. Now actinide series. So uranium, thorium is your 91. Okay, sorry, 90, and that one minute. So thorium is 90, uranium is 92, and it is your 100. So 90 to 100. Yes, 90 to 103. Okay, sometimes they ask the atomic number. Okay, in NEET and JEE Mains. Okay, so you can calculate also, but if you remember, then it is easy. So atomic number 90 to 103. Here the electronic configuration is the increment of 1. So here it is 4f for lanthanide series. It becomes 5f, 1 to 14. Then becomes 5d to 6d, 0 to 1, and becomes 7s2. Okay, becomes 7s2. Okay, 7s2. So that is the general electronic configuration of lanthanide. Okay. So here, if you see that one, lanthanide and this lanthanum and actinium, they are just under the scandium, yttrium, and here. So they are the D block element. Always remember that. Yes. Hmm. Yeah, cerium to lutetium, yes, that one. Cerium series or thorium series, yeah. Cerium or thorium. That, yeah. This one. Okay, so that is a cerium to lutetium. Okay, this one, then configuration, then active series, thorium, and all that. Okay. So all these are, so that is the configuration 4F14, 5D, 021, 6F. That is the configuration. That you will study in 12th class. Sir. Just you have to remember the general configuration. The general configuration, that one. Main study is in 12th class. Just there is introduction because we are studying the periodic table. So you have to study that one. Okay. No. For F block, they don't give any. No. They don't ask. They don't ask that. In NEET, they will never ask that question. Even in advance, they don't ask. So that is the F block. Only that thing you have to remember. Remember that the all are radioactive. All are radioactive. Okay, they emit alpha, beta, gamma rays. Okay, this one. So uranium is the last natural element. Okay, so they are metal. Now, just okay. So the next. So this is your general introduction to the periodic table. How we are going to see the group and all these things. Okay. This is a general introduction. How many groups are there, periods are there, how the increment works, and all this, how to find this one, atomic number, period, and the group number and all. Okay, so these are all the basic things about the periodic table that I got. Okay, now let's go for this. Let's now start the periodic properties. Periodic properties. Okay, periodic properties. So what are periodic properties? Okay, so periodic properties are these are the properties which gradually decrease or increase along the period or the group, whatever it is. Name is periodic properties, but they gradually increase or decrease. Okay, so in periodic properties we will study size, ionization energy, electron affinity, electronegativity, metallic character, okay, non-metallic character, all these things we will study. Okay, so these are the periodic property. Okay, acidity, basicity, and all these things. So here it is basic nature, here it is acidic nature. Okay, HCl and HBr are all acids, NaH, KH are all base here. Okay, these are sort of neutral here. This all these things we will study here. So first periodic properties, a lot of periodic properties. So first periodic property we will study is the atomic radius. Atomic radius. Okay, this one. Okay, so atomic radius itself suggests that who is there? Atomic radius itself suggests that it is the radius of the atom. Okay, radius of the atom. This one. But the problem is that we cannot measure the exact radius. We cannot measure the exact radius of atom. Exact radius of atom we cannot measure. Okay. Why? Because electron position is not certain. There is a certain probability of this one. Okay, suppose we take this 1s. Suppose this is your, say that's your hydrogen atom. Okay, so hydrogen atom, that is your 1s there. So the electron here, so I told you that one. So electron remain okay like this. So the maximum probability of finding the electron is at the location of 1s here, that is a radius of 0.529 angstrom. Okay, so psi square tends to be maximum here at 0.529, but that is a psi square, it is not the exact radius. Okay, because electron is, okay, we can't say the exact position of electron where it is, so we can't measure the atomic radius as such. Okay, if you say that yes, we can measure the atomic radius, no, it is not possible, because electron position is not known with certainty. Because electron position cannot be calculated with certainty. Okay, we cannot calculate the electron position because it's always moving here and there and there. So that is the electron cloud basically that we see. Electron can be here, 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 can be here. So everywhere electron can be there. So we can't measure the exact position. So that's why only a probability is there. So we cannot measure the exact position of electron. If we cannot measure the exact position of electron, atomic radius cannot be calculated from atom. Okay. So we take different arrangement, or we can say different type of molecules or ions to measure the atomic radius. Okay, this now atomic radius, if we see atomic radius, atomic radius is measured by different means okay depending upon the nature of element, depending upon the nature of element, okay. Depending upon the nature of element, suppose you see hydrogen is a gas and it is diatomic, H2 is diatomic, there are two atoms and it is a gas. Okay, so we have to take the hydrogen as H2, not H. We cannot take H. Okay, it is a rare possibility that we can get the hydrogen gas. So because that it's a diatomic gas, so we cannot okay take a hydrogen atom to measure its radius. Okay, because the nature is such to measure its radius. Nature is such. Okay, because if you break it, suppose you apply energy and the bond breaks into hydrogen and hydrogen, but it will immediately combine. Okay, that both will combine and give back the hydrogen molecule. So this this fundamental of breaking the hydrogen doesn't work like that. In practical way, it is not good. So we take hydrogen molecule and measure the entire radius, entire diameter. Sorry. Okay. So for gas, if there is a covalent bond, then we take the this hydrogen gas. So for gases like H2O2, okay, N2, in nature these are all gases. Okay, we take the molecule to measure the radius. We take molecule to measure the radius because they are stable. Okay, we take the molecule to measure the radius. Now when we take the molecule to measure the radius, okay, it is called as covalent radius because there is a covalent bond. You know what is the covalent bond? What is the covalent bond? Sharing. Yes, sharing of electrons. Okay. That although that we will study in detail in chemical bonding, what is a covalent bond, but here you see that is a covalent bond. So these all have covalent bonds. Okay, all these gases have covalent bond. All these gases have covalent bond. Yes. Yeah, this is diatom. Two atoms are there, hydrogen, hydrogen. That it when you because when you break the hydrogen molecule into atoms, they will just combine back to give hydrogen molecule. No, no, no. Because electron position cannot be defined with certainty. It's the electron cloud, not the position. It behaves as a wave sometimes. That is the problem. Okay. So, okay, this one. So, the covalent radii. So, first mean is the covalent radii. Covalent radii. Now, what is covalent bond that you know? So, I am not going to discuss it. Okay, suppose there are two hydrogen atoms. Let's take two hydrogen atoms. Okay, this one and another. So okay, so these are the two hydrogen atoms. Now when two hydrogen atoms makes the bond, okay, they share the orbitals. Okay, so they overlap here. Okay, it's not like that they are, this one. Okay, so that is your 1s orbital, 1s orbital for both the hydrogen. This hydrogen, this is hydrogen. So they both are, that type of bonding is there. Okay, so these are hydrogens which are there. This is hydrogen, this is hydrogen. This is the nucleus, and they have 2 electrons which are here shared. Okay, these are the 2 shared electrons. Now, when the electrons are shared, there is a overlapping between these two. Overlapping between these two. Okay, these two get overlap. So there is a overlap area here. Okay, this area is called as overlap area because that is a sharing. Overlap area. Okay, that we will discuss later. So that is the overlap area, and that is the sharing of 2 electrons. Okay, this is sharing of 2 electrons. Sharing of 2 electrons. So this is your sharing. Now, how we measure the covalent radius? Okay, we measure. Okay, the measurement techniques are there that I am not going to discuss. There are X-ray, microwave techniques. Lot of techniques are there which is not in your course. So by all these techniques, we measure the distance from nucleus to nucleus. Okay, suppose D. Okay, so this D. So D is the distance from nucleus to nucleus. Nucleus to nucleus. D is the distance. Okay. And what is the radius? Radius is this one. This one is the radius. Radius R, and this is radius R. So it is your D by T basically. So radius, covalent radius is equal to D by T. So that is simple. Okay. Now you see here, because it is overlapping here in this scene, you can see it is not the exact radius. Exact radius, if we measure, it would be like this. That is the exact radius. But the problem is that here some part of it is gone in this overlapping. So it is not the exact radius. So covalent radius, this you see here, the radius I am measuring, is from this point to this point. Okay, got it? But the exact radius is like this. Exact radius is this, the red line. I am already measuring to the yellow line here, that is the radius R. Okay, so that is the problem. That's why the covalent radius is always smaller than the original radius. We don't know how much it is smaller because we don't have that much technology. Okay, so always remember that covalent radius no, that is a problem. We don't get that. Covalent radius is smaller than the original radius. That is the problem with this. Okay, we don't have that much technology to make that. Technological problem is there. Okay. We know that there is a problem, but we can't do anything. So then the original radius is the covalent bond. Okay, so hydrogen has only single bond between them. That is a hydrogen bond. Okay, this one. Now, if the bond becomes multiple in a multiple bond, okay, in a multiple bond, okay, covalent radius become smaller. Okay, covalent radius becomes smaller. So the carbon bond, carbon single bond, yes. So carbon single bond. So carbon has various bonds which are there, multiple bonds. Do you know that? Okay, so no, no, not tetrahedral. So carbon single bond. Suppose you take ethane. Ethane is this CH3 CH3. So there is carbon carbon. This single bond. Yes. Ethane. Yes. So carbon single bond is there. Then it is ethene. So there is double bond. Okay. Then it is ethyne or ethylene. It is triple bond. Okay. So if we see the distance between the covalent radius, it is 1.54 angstrom. Okay. 1.54 angstrom. So that is the D I am talking about, the D, the distance. Okay, that this D I am talking about. From D you can also find R. So here D is 1.5 angstrom, 1.54, and here it becomes 1.34 angstrom, and here the D becomes 1.207. Okay, so that is the case. Now here you can see the distance is decreasing. Distance D, nucleus to nucleus distance, is decreasing. Nucleus to nucleus distance is decreasing, and hence the covalent radii will also decrease. So if we see here, we go from here to here, covalent radii will also decrease. Covalent radius will decrease. Okay, it will decrease. So another problem is this one. Okay, another problem is this, that the covalent radius decreases like that. Okay. Now, so the measurement, whatever the, whenever we get the data, there is a IUPAC book which gives the data. So whenever we get the data, we always get the data of single bond only. Suppose nitrogen also forms the double bond, triple bond, single bond, but we always get the data. When you will get the data, it is the single bond data only. Okay. So, but you have to remember that when there are multiple bonds, the atoms come closer to each other, because one bond there is some distance. Now two bonds are pulling the atoms more closer. Three bonds are pulling the carbon atoms even more closer. So what happens, that the triple bond, due to triple bond, because they are very near to each other, the distance, internuclear distance, decreases. Any doubt in this? Okay. So that is called as the van der Waals or the covalent radius. This one. Okay. Because of multiple bonds. This is single bond, double bond, triple bond. So it will decrease here. It will decrease. Yes. Double bond, there are two bonds. So here, see, suppose there is one rope, two stones, they are pulled by one rope. Then two stones pulled by two ropes. They are coming closer now. They are coming closer. They are saying that if there are two ropes, they will be closer. So in distance D, that I told you, the distance D here, that is the internuclear distance between the nucleus. Okay, it is the distance from nucleus to nucleus, one nucleus to another nucleus. So that is your internuclear distance. So that will decrease. Internuclear distance will decrease. So the covalent radius will decrease, because covalent radius is R, this R, or it is D by 2. Okay. So in triple bond, they are all much closer to each other in triple bond. So 1, 2, 3. very close to each other in triple bond. So that's why it's yes, it is. Tougher. We can't break the triple bond. Very difficult. Okay. If you eat, there are fatty acids which have only single. There is some compound in the body which have triple bonds. It's very difficult to break, and that causes obesity. I forgot that. So that is in biochemistry. I read. Now, okay, so that is the covalent radius. Okay, so that is the covalent radius. Understood that one? Covalent radius is affected by many things. Okay, that we will see when we will study the periodic properties in the covalent radius and all that. Okay, so this is covalent radius. Understood that one? Now, another thing is, because these are the gases, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, so there are various gases like fluorine, okay, like that. So there are various gases which we have to do. Now there are metals also. Metals. Okay. For metals, because there is no covalent bond in the metal, so for metals we use metallic bond or metallic crystal to measure the radius. Okay, so second one is here. So first one is the covalent radius. Second one is metallic radius. Second one is metallic radius. Okay. So what is metallic radius? Metallic radius is just because the atoms are arranged in metals. Have you learned metallic bond? No, I don't. Metallic bond is not there in 9th. Covalent and ionic bond. So metallic bond is nothing but, suppose you take the example of copper. Okay, so suppose these are copper atoms which are there. Copper atoms like this. Okay. So the copper atoms they just touch each other. Okay, there is no sharing or something like that. Okay, so these are copper atoms. So they touch each other without any sharing or something. Okay, there is no sharing for copper atoms. Now, when there is no sharing for copper atoms, okay, we can just measure by the X-rays what is the internuclear. Okay, so it is something same as that of a covalent bond. So suppose this is the nucleus. Okay, this one is the nucleus. So by X-rays, there are various techniques. So we can measure the internuclear distance. So we measure the internuclear distance like this. This is your D distance. Here it is same everywhere. Okay, distance D is same. So my drawing is not that much good, but you can understand. That is the distance D, which is same everywhere. Okay, and the radius is this one. So from this point to this point, that is the radius. So that is R, like that here. That is R. Okay, here also. That is R. So the example of copper. So metallic, okay, internuclear distance is D. Internuclear distance nuclear distance is d. Okay, so metallic radius is equal to d by 2. So that is a d by 2. So that is simple. No problem in that. Okay, now there is no overlap in this. Okay, you can see because copper atoms, they do not make a covalent bond, so they are just touching each other by the metallic bond. So this is a metallic bond. The metallic bond I will not discuss here, how it is formed, why the copper atoms are attached to each other, how they are bonded. But just remember, this is just the touching. Each pair touches each other. Okay, so that is called as a metallic bond. So that is your d by 2. This is simple. Okay, nothing you have to do. Just the internuclear distance and you divide it by 2. So that is your metallic bond. So this is about the metal. So all the d block elements and the s block elements can measure like that. Now next is your, after the metallic, so third one are nothing. There are two spheres, so two atoms. The distance between the two atoms is d, the green one, and the radius is d by 2. So that is the radius. Yeah. Here we get almost accurate because there is no problem of sharing. So there is no overlap as such. So we get that one. Now another is last one is called as van der Waal radius. Van der Waal radius. Van der Waal radius. Now van der Waal radius you have to understand. Okay, what is van der Waal radius? Van der Waal radius is it is for, most of the time we use it for the noble gas. Okay, it is used for noble gases. Okay, van der Waal radius. It is used for noble gases. You can use it for molecules also, but first we have to understand what how to measure the noble gas radius. Now the problem with the noble gases are inert. They do not form any compound. Noble gases are inert. Okay. So noble gases are inert and they are okay. So they are monoatomic. When they are inert means they are monoatomic. Monoatomic means they exist as single molecule atoms, helium or xenon, neon, whatever, argon, etc. So they exist as single atom. Now it is difficult to measure the single atom. Okay, this one. The measurement for the single atom is very difficult. What happens? Let's suppose this is your helium. Okay, so helium. Let's take this one. Suppose this is one helium. Okay, this one is helium. Okay, and we have here the electron cloud of helium. Yeah, most of the time we use it for noble gases. Most of the time it is used for noble gases to measure the atomic radius. Okay, this is. So there is one helium. Now suppose there is second helium also. Let's take another helium atom. Okay, this is another helium atom, and it has also the electron cloud in 1s because it is the configuration 1s2 of helium. Helium is 1s2. So these two electron clouds, okay, when they come closer to each other, okay, suppose they come close to each other, okay, when these two helium atoms come close to each other, what happens? They start to repel each other. Okay, suppose they come at the distance d. Suppose this is the distance d. Okay, I have to take it as, suppose this is the distance L, outer, this 1s radius to 1s radius. This is distance L. Okay, so they start to repel each other. What happens after that? Okay, so when they come close to each other, they start to repel each other. When they start to repel each other, okay, they cannot just go and touch. They can never touch each other, because here it is negative charge of the electron. Okay, negative charge of the electron, negative charge of the electron. So negative charge of electron is all over this. So there is a repulsion between them. So electron on the outer radius, they repel each other. So that is a repulsion here. So there is a minimum distance that they can come close to each other because of the repulsion. They repel each other due to outer electron. Due to outer electron. Outer electron means 1s, so there are no outer inner because it is only 1s. So outer electron repulsion, okay, prevent helium atoms to come very close to each other. So L is the minimum distance. L is the minimum distance of approach. L is the minimum distance of approach. Minimum distance of approach. Okay. So when L is the minimum distance of approach, what it suggests that they cannot come closer than the distance L, because there is repulsion between them. Okay, suppose you put two magnets and north pole. So when they come very close to each other, they repel, north pole, because that is the same charge, same magnetic strength, same magnetic pole. So here, when they come very close to each other, that is the distance L. The distance d is measured. Okay. The distance d is nucleus to nucleus distance. This is the distance d. Okay. And then we take the radius r. Okay, so this is the radius r. So L is what? L is the minimum distance of approach. Okay. So when at L distance, okay, at L distance means when this distance, L distance is achieved. Okay, they have come to the maximum closeness. So when they have achieved the maximum closeness, so at L distance, okay, at L distance, internuclear distance is measured. Internuclear distance is measured. Okay, which is your d. So van der Waals radius is equal to d by 2. Okay, so that is the van der Waals radius. That maximum we can measure from the current technology. So you can see the van der Waals radius is much larger than the original radius. Original radius is this one. This one is the original radius, small r. Van der Waals radius is r, capital R. So it is much large. It is inaccurate. It is inaccurate. Okay. Now we have developed the technology 4-5 years back. Okay, so we have now the technology to measure the exact radius. Not the exact, but it is somewhat more accurate than the better one. Okay, so this we have to understand. So we understood all these three, you know, radius of this one. Yes, yes. So that is the L distance. L is the minimum distance of approach. Means minimum distance between the two helium atoms can be L, minimum distance, because after this distance, if the atoms come more close to each other, they start to repel. They will start to repel each other. So this is the case here. So the R distance. No, that is in the vessel or a container. There's a lot of helium atoms. So experiment while experimenting. Experiment is not in your course, and they're way more complex to understand, because we measure whole lot of things there. Okay, so up down. That's fine. So that is the, yes. I will send you PDF. Take your time. Okay. For each gases, L will, for each and every gas, L will be different. No, no, it will be same. That will always be there, but the L would be same every time. Okay, so that is your van der Waals radius. Okay. So now the last one is your this third one. So that is your third one. So last one is your, let's do ionic radius also. Okay, so last one is the ionic radius. Fourth one is the ionic radius. Ionic radius. Now in ionic radius, okay, first you understand that ions. Okay, so I told you that here how the ions are formed. Okay, this one iron. Okay, 26. Then iron 26 is the atomic number of iron. So plus 2 and plus 3. So ions are formed by positive ion. That is a positive ion. Similarly, the negative ions which are there. So the cation radius. Okay, suppose in a, okay, radius of cation in the same period is smaller than the anion. Okay, so in the same period, radius of cation is always smaller than anion. Okay, so ionic radius. So when ions are formed, suppose let's take the example of sodium chloride, or can take any example, no problem. Lithium, or let's take this one. So let's take sodium chloride. Okay, sodium chloride, you know. So sodium chloride is made up of sodium ion and chloride. Let everybody know that is an ionic bond. What is the ionic bond? Please. Yeah, it is a transfer of electrons. So a sodium transfer its electron to chlorine. So sodium ion and chloride ion are formed. So that is the structure. Now there is a crystal lattice is formed of the sodium chloride. Okay, sodium chloride or ionic compound remains in crystal lattice. Crystal lattice. Okay, so that is the crystal lattice here. Okay, so that is the crystal lattice. Lattice. I'm just one minute. I will tell you. Crystal lattice. Okay, that is the crystal lattice. Okay, so here suppose okay, 1 minute. Third. Okay, so this is the crystal lattice, you can see here. Okay, so this is the white color, everybody can see that one. Sodium ion are white and chloride ion are green in color. Okay, so chloride ion, you can see it is much larger than the sodium ion. Sodium ion are smaller. Okay, it is not the complete sphere. Yes, this cube is not lattice exactly, but when we have multiple cubes like that, ऐसे बहुत सारा cubes जब हो जाएंगे हजारों लाखों, okay, तो cubes को lattice बोलेंगे. ठीक है, ये lattice का एक छोटा पार्ट है, स्मॉलर पार्ट ऑफ lattice. ओके, तो यहाँ पे अभी क्या बताया कि कैटाइन जो है, सॉरी आई हैव टू स्पीक इन इंग्लिश, आई वाज स्पीकिंग इंग्लिश, सो दैट वाज माय मिस्टेक. तो कैटाइन जो है वो हमेशा ही छोटा होगा एनाइन. सो दैट इज योर कैटाइन. सोडियम आयन इज योर कैटाइन. दिस इज योर कैटाइन and it's smaller than the anion. Okay, so here you can see that one. So this is your cation. Cation is smaller and this is your anion. Okay, so yes, what I am telling you, I will tell you about lattice. Okay, just understand this one. This is the smallest part of lattice. Okay, lattice is three-dimensional cage type structure. Okay, so that is called as lattice. Okay, so this is when we replicate this cube, that is called as the lattice. This is called as unit cell, 1 unit of lattice, smallest part. That it is just like cell inside the body. So this cube is cell. When we replicate the cells, multiple cells are there, so it is called as lattice. Okay, so here you can see how we measure the anion and cation distance. Okay, so we measure the edge length of the cube. Edge length is A. Everybody can see the A which is written here. Patelish. Yeah. So A. So here it is also A. This every edge is A here. So we can measure the anion to cation radius and all that. Okay. So this measurement is in 12th class. So I am not going into this measurement here only. But we can measure the cation and the anion radius. Okay. So now let's go to that. So what is the cation and anion? Suppose smaller part is always smaller, cation is always smaller and anion is always larger. So that is your anion. Suppose this is your sodium ion. Okay, this is sodium ion and the blue color is chloride ion. Okay, so this is the nucleus of sodium ion, the nucleus of sodium ion, and this is chloride ion. This one. Okay, so here it is the distance. Okay, that is called as R positive. R positive is the cationic distance, cationic radius, and here it is R negative. Negative means the radius of the chloride ion. Yes. No, no, in the same period. In the same period. Okay, suppose you take the cation of, let's take the cation of cesium and take the anion of fluorine. So fluorine is very small, even it is anion, and cesium plus is larger. So in the same period you can compare. Yeah. So every time it is not compulsory. Every time it is not. So because sodium, you see, it is period number 3 here, and chlorine is in period number 3. So there you can compare. You can compare potassium and bromine also. Okay. So that is comparable. But don't compare fluorine and then barium. Not comparable. So it is in 6th period, and then that is not comparable. 6th and 2nd are not comparable. So they should be in the same period. Then this will hold. Okay. So this is the distance. Okay. Now here we measure the cation and the anion radius by different means, by X-ray and all these things. Okay. So this is how we measure. We measure it by, okay, it here when we write, if I do this one, okay, suppose this is the internuclear distance d. Okay, so d by 2 is not equal to the radius of sodium ion, and it is also not equal to radius of chloride ion. So sodium ion radius is r plus, chloride ion radius is r negative. So that doesn't make any sense here. So that's why this d distance and all these things doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we don't write like this. Always remember. So there is a technique called as X-ray crystallography, and after that we measure the distance a, then we do a whole lot of calculations there. Okay, so cationic anionic distance are not in your course, that is in 12th class basically. Here you have to just understand the cation is very small, anion is very large, so we cannot do this d by 2 is equal to radius. So that is not possible because they are not same. They are not same, cation and anion. So that is called as ionic radius. So ionic radius is measured by crystal lattice. Okay, it's measured by crystal lattice. That is one part of crystal lattice. Okay, suppose you want to see the crystal lattice. Okay, so that is your over, basically the radius and all that. Okay, so that is your over. This class is over.